Pastor Payne, half of family, all the family members, thank you for making this church available for your service. We're so grateful to you, to Pastor Fleming, pastor of Morning View Baptist Church. Most of us grew up in Lydell, Sub, in the shadow of Morning View Baptist Church. To all of the ministers who are here, and to all of you, my brothers and sisters, thank you for sharing this moment. As I looked out at this audience, I thought often it is amazing how one life can touch so many people. And it is unfortunate that it takes gathering like this for us to realize how much one life can affect so many people. I've known Herbert Jr., that's what we have always called him, all of my life. Grew up in the neighborhood there together, saw each other now and then. I was older. I'm going to tell you how old, because some of you at that age and you think you're not old. But I was old when I really realized how we all got to be so close. It is an interesting story of black family life. My grandfather, Walter Hawkins, lived in Athens, Georgia, and their house burned down. Here in Memphis, Herbert, eldest grandmother, Virginia Davenport, lived down on Macmillan. And so Virginia Davenport invited her brother, Walter Hawkins, to come to Memphis and to live with them. And so he packed up everything, my mother and her sisters and all, and they all moved to Memphis and they lived, and I'm fascinated still when I passed by and when my mother showed me the house. They lived in a little house on Macmillan. Now between the Davenports and the Hawkins, there was about 1,000 people in that house. If you saw that house, you would be truly, truly amazed. But that was the beginning of us together in the neighborhood. And there's so many great, great family members. One of the things that stands out in my mind most of all is at 1658 Crunchy, where we live. My aunt Florence, that we call Newman, would be on the piano, and the Davenport sisters and the Hawkins sisters and others would be around the piano singing those songs. I was just a little kid at the time, but I remember it so well. And that marvelous memory has stayed with me throughout the years and throughout the time together. Herbert Jr., you've heard about his great work and all the things that he did in the community. It is unfortunate that for some men who do things like that, they do it to the neglect and the detriment of their family. It was not so with Herbert Jr. Herbert Jr. did inside the house and inside the family what he did outside the house and outside the family. He was a loving husband, father, brother, cousin, son. Our mothers in their latter years lived next door to each other. And I would most often see him as we were going to the house to check on our mothers. All the time he checked on them, made sure that everything was right. I remember him talking so much about, every time we saw each other, we would talk about the family and what was going on and asking about the different ones. I remember him meeting Mary Virginia. I was hesitant about telling this, and forgive me, Virginia, if this is not quite right, but I remember it was actually at the Institute at Metropolitan Church during the break. A group of us was standing around talking, and we were just talking about a variety of things. Most of us were relatively young and new at marriage and all that. We were talking, and Herbert was telling us a number of things, most of which I won't tell you about now, but he was his usual joking and jovial self. And somehow we got on the subject of eating and cooking. And he said, said, you know, my wife, when we first got married, wasn't really a very good cook. And somebody in the group said, well, why'd you marry her? And Herbie said, well, at the time, I wasn't that interested in food. As you know, it was a great joke. And he loved Jim. He loved his daughters. He loved his sister. He loved his family. He loved all of his family. He's one of those, you know, there's somebody in the family that somehow gets along with even the most distant cousin that you have. It's hurt those who are close, those who fall away. I have the privilege, like Herbert, working with boys, trying to help them grow and develop. And most often, I wish for them that they had in their lives, especially in their families, somebody like her, just a good man. Just a good man that they could look up to. He was enough years older than me that he was a man when I was still a boy, so I could look up to him. I wish for these kids that they had somebody in their family like her. Somebody who loved his wife. Somebody who loved his children, who was a good father. Somebody who knew to take care of his mother. Somebody who was good to his cousins and his nieces and his nephews. Good to his neighbors and his friends. Somebody who knew how to work in the church and who knew how to spread his gifts and talents around. I wish for them that they had somebody like we had in our family. A man like her. A man who was everything he could be to everybody that he knew. We'll miss it in our family. We'll miss all that it was. But thanks be to God, we have his memory that will live with us always. One of the things that happens on a program like this is when you come down near to the end, those who come before you use the passages of scripture that you have planned to use and talk about. Our cousin, Bob, used that passage that I was going to mention about blessed are the dead that die in the Lord. Happy are the dead that die in the Lord. That's a passage that I think applies. And then Reverend John Watson, Dr. John Watson, the president, used that passage about a time and place and season for everything. And I think that is appropriate as well. And so I'll just leave you with this. The good news, the good thing about being a Christian is that you can come to a service, a homegoing service, and you can cry, but then you laugh. And then you cry some more, and then you laugh some more, because you remember the life of your loved one. But the reason you can laugh is that you know that it is not the end, that it's not all over, that there's something else on the other side. I look forward to the day when it won't be on Carnegie Street that we gather and sing songs about the goodness and the glory of God, but it will be on the streets of heaven. And all of us, even those who've already gone on before us, will get together one more time. When we all get to heaven, all but a day of rejoicing that will be. When we all see Jesus, like Herbert, and Hattie, and Annie, and the others have done, when we all see Jesus, then we'll sing and we'll shout victory.